Hi there. I'm Angela Giles, the Atlantic Regional Organizer with the Council of Canadians. And I was particularly nervous for the talk tonight. I'm not really sure why, but I'm really glad that everyone respected my partner's request that you come naked, so that it made it a lot easier for me. So thank you for that. And thank you to Mayor Savage for recognizing that we are on unceded Mi'kmaq territory tonight, which is always important to recognize, but is particularly important given the topic tonight. We have a lot to learn from Indigenous peoples here and around the world on this issue. As the title of my talk suggests, I'm hoping to challenge how we as a society see and treat water. So many of you likely know that the United Nations General Assembly overwhelmingly voted to pass a resolution back in 2010 declaring that access to water and sanitation is a human right. Governments are now obligated to develop comprehensive plans and strategies, assess the implementation of the plan, ensure affordable services for everyone, and create accountability mechanisms and legal remedies to fulfill their obligation to this resolution. But currently across Canada, there are over 1,500 drinking water advisories. Drinking water on First Nations reserves is deplorable, with routinely over 100 drinking water advisories, and roughly half of those have been in place for over 5 years. Funding required to bring public water infrastructure to reasonable standards would be approximately $15 billion, according to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. So here is my idea. How about we collectively, as a society, start treating water as a human right, as a commons? Treated it as though no one owns it, and we are all collectively responsible for protecting it. We all know that water is vital to life and all living creatures, and yet how do we show this? We must start treating water with respect as though our lives depended on it, because they do. The Peace and Friendship Alliance, a new Indigenous and Allies organization that has come together in New Brunswick, will unveil a water declaration at the March to the End of the Line in Redhead near St. John, New Brunswick, this coming Saturday. So since it's not yet public, I can't read it all, but I did want to share one line that really stood out for me. What we do to the water, we do to ourselves. So what are we currently doing to the water? Threats to water in Atlantic Canada include fracking and fracking wastewater, tar sands pipelines, drilling for oil, mink farms, salmon farms, forestry destruction, mining, nuclear power plant, water bottling plants, climate impacts to our coastlines, and on and on. To expand on just one of those examples, there's a proposal under consideration by the National Energy Board that would carry 1.1 million barrels of crude per day from Hardisty, Alberta and the tar sands to St. John, New Brunswick, to the Irving refinery, then on to supertankers through the Bay of Fundy and on to international markets. TransCanada's proposed Energy East pipeline would cross at least 90 watersheds and 961 waterways, which means they are all threatened by the possibility of a spill. The Bay of Fundy, with its highest tides in the world, is also threatened by this possibility, given the tankers going through. So in addition to the list for Atlantic Canada, then at a federal level, and we've heard some of this already from the other speakers, we're talking about policy cuts, including the gutting of the Fisheries Act and major cuts to the Navigable Waters Protection Act that used to monitor thousands of waterways. Cuts to government scientist jobs who used to research and analyze those waterways through fish and other methods, and international trade deals, which we see water as a tradable good or service, creating pressure to commoditize it, and thus making it vulnerable to investor-state challenges, and in the extreme case, vulnerable to a settlement where industry claimed ownership over the access to water in the case of Abitibi-Bowater in Newfoundland. If we were to say no to these industries and to these trade deals, then what about the jobs, you ask? Where would our energy come from? I'm not pretending that this would be easy, but there are lots of opportunities, including public or cooperative-run renewables on a local scale, for example, A just transition for workers needs to be part of the conversation as well. So I'll just briefly mention that organizations like the Council of Canadians, Ecology Action Centre, Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives do have a lot of ideas on the economics piece of things as well, since I don't have time to get into that. The idea of a water commons-based management would see policies like public control of services, public participation, hierarchy of use that prioritizes the environment and public interest, etc. So this idea of treating water as a commons is not actually as utopian as it might sound. Challenging, to be sure, because in order to get there, we would need to stop industries that destroy water for profit, like those I've already mentioned, and forge a new way forward. If decision makers, including elected officials and industry leaders, looked at and respected water the way I'm suggesting, then every decision they make would place number one importance on the impact on water. Alternative options with a lower or even zero water impact would not just be considered more seriously, but chosen based on that fact. This proposal would clearly demand vision, including visionaries to move our day-to-day thinking in this direction. And we in the grassroots need to be demanding this shift. Maybe I'll just mention that there's an opportunity coming up in the lead up to and including October 19th. Hint, hint. Federal election. If we can successfully make this transition, then we would be securing a future on Earth for the next 7 generations and beyond. The last I checked, we cannot drink money. Water is life. Voilà, merci. Thank you.